Hello and welcome. I am No Coffee, No Life, and today we're going to be
This
building
place
in the
has a lot
Cranberry
of
Bog
potential.
at this Redoubt. It is south of the Robco Research Center, and it's north of the Old Mold Quarry and Pylon V13. It is also right next to an unmarked fissure site, which, if you're looking out the gates, is directly in front of this location.
Getting so sick
So
and
you're going to
tired
see
of those
Scorch
thorn
beasts
bushes.
all the time. In addition to the fissure site, you're going to have some troubles, more than likely, while building here because the ground is very uneven and it's really tricky to place your foundations. Having said that, let's get started on the build.
Really
It's
need
going
to
to
clean up
be
around here.
brief, the building process, because I'm just going to show you how I laid out the foundations and how I built the defensive wall that I'm going to build in the back. So let's get started. So I've placed a foundation 2x4 here, as close as I can to the train. And I've got guard posts, or I will have 2 guard posts on either side. I'm going to remove this foundation and replace it with the larger guard post, so that I have one on either side to start the inner defensive wall. It takes a little moving around because it's a really finicky area. You've kind of got a ditch right next to this train car, and things don't necessarily want to immediately place, so you kind of have to play with it for a while. This happens a lot when you build here. It looks like it's going to sit nicely, and then it won't. And you have to make changes as a result. You know, sometimes builds aren't as easy as others, that's for sure, especially here in the Cranberry Bog. It honestly feels like the place is fighting you the whole entire time. And honestly, out of all the zones, it feels like this was the red-headed stepchild. Like, they really didn't fix it as much as the other zones. It feels like it's just basically there for the Scorch Beast Queen fight and Watoga and, you know, the locations that they have. But anyways, I am going to line up these junk walls. They're not the only walls I'm going to place here. The original wall that I had built before I tore it down was a mixture of these junk walls and actual walls like you would put on a foundation, because my original idea was to build a wall like you would in Fallout 4 with the walls from your buildings, and that kind of worked, but it also didn't. It was kind of a little awkward. So I decided to make the defensive wall a little smaller, and this is the door I'm going to place in the back to get to the second half of the camp once I have this inner defensive wall built. The log cabin wall isn't going to stay, it's just there so that I can pick it out compared to the rest of the wall that's here. Oh, look, see, there's a Scorch Beast. There is a Scorch Beast, and he's not going to come this way. He's actually going to bother somebody else, but it's going to look like he comes here, and then the turret's going to go crazy, and then he's going to fly off and bother someone else, thankfully. This is what you can expect. Put those turrets up, because you're gonna see that a lot, almost all the time. So we're gonna continue with this wall, and it will place nicely against the regular wall. And see, it looks perfect. I adjusted this this one section for a while, and then I realized, hey, it's just I'm never going to perfectly align it so that there's no gap. So I need to come up with a better way to close this gap. Otherwise, I'm gonna be here forever. And I did figure it out, and it's our faithful tires. The tires fit here perfectly, and they close up the space between these two walls. I put the bigger tire on the bottom. You might, you know, if you decide to build here, do something a little different. This is what I did, just to close up the space between these two, and it worked. It met at the level of the junk wall, so that worked out. And now it just looks fine. It just looks like it belongs there, which is good. Better that it looks like it belongs than it doesn't. And now to close off the rest of this back area, this inner defensive wall. Let's get it. Another junk wall matched to this side. I had placed this earlier, but I had to move the foundation around a little bit for an adjustment, so it goes back. Let's get the rest of it adjusted. I have to, it's too severe an angle. It has to come out a little bit so that it can meet up with the other side, because we need all the room we can get inside. Put another junk wall next to it. Not the wood, the metal, corrugated metal. I don't want to repeat the same wall over and over again. It just looks a little weird that way. It needs to look a little varied. Have those two. Back to adjusting again. The ground here just sucks. There's no getting around it. It's not your friend. Slap this wall here eventually. There we go. And we have this gap. Now, I tried to put a junk wall here and it won't fit. There's not enough room. It refuses to go because of the ground and because of the walls. And, you know, I thought about turning to violence, but, you know, violence doesn't work, really, at all. Trust me, it doesn't work, especially in this section. It just didn't. So I restored the wall, and I pulled out a foundation, because that will work. And you just have to come back to it and lower the foundation as low as it will go, like you're limboing. As low as you can go down into the ground. You'll have to adjust, probably, because, you know, nothing can be easy, especially if you're having fun in this game. Lower it down as slow as possible. Low, 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 lower. Okay, I'm thinking. Oh, we can get it a little lower. A little lower. There we go. Oh, too low. Too low. And is it gonna slightly? Yes, there we go. Perfect. And now we're gonna adjust a little more to get it closer, because we don't want a really big gap. And then here's the wall. Excellent. Now we're gonna come back around and switch it to a door frame so that I can remove this foundation. Otherwise I won't be able to. And there it goes. And we're going to take care of that gap in a second here. We're just going to switch this back to a full wall. And then we're going to close that gap underneath. See, look at this. Doesn't that look nice? It looks nice. It looks way better than just a giant hole in a fort. So let's get that closed, and we will do that with a smaller defensive fence, because this clips perfectly, and it'll close the gap, and it'll look totally normal. See, look, perfect. It's all closed. Everything is contained in this area, which is great. This is what we wanted anyways. And we'll change this wall really quick. We'll make it a metal wall, just so that it fits with the rest of this wall. And there we have it. We have our interior defensive wall, and you'll see what I mean by that in a minute. And here it is, an aerial view of the entire camp. And you can see that initial defensive wall and then the exterior defensive wall that I've put up. Some of it's blocked by the tree, but overall you can see the entirety of it. I put down the Blood Eagle hut in part of it just to bridge the gap between the two parts of the wall. It's completely enclosed now, and the front end is blocked off by the train. And here's the front. Here it is from the view of the entry gate. So you can see it all the way to the back. And we're gonna take a look at the interior now. Zoom in, see this inner area where I've just put the workstations. I've put a weapons workbench and an armor station. The vendors. I put a sign indicating that you're going to hop up to get into the camp. Sadly, you can't place very much inside of the trains. And pretty much the most that you can do is put some lighting because it's at an angle, and anything that you place in there is going to match the actual floor, not the floor inside the train. So it's kind of a dead space. The interior is pretty straightforward. I've just decorated it. I've kept it as small and enclosed as I can while keeping it open still. That sounds a little weird, but that's the only way I can describe it, because I haven't closed it off entirely with walls. It is open to the elements, and I've mixed up the floors. Normally I don't use a lot of varying floors. I use the standard wood, but here I mixed it up a little bit. And I blocked off the doorway that's actually leading to the office area that you'll see in a little bit, because I just wanted the door there, and I wanted it to look a little different than just a regular wall. It should look like something that got pulled from somewhere else and slapped in. It's not like you can go out and buy home building supplies, you know, in the wasteland. Anyways, let's make it to the rest of the camp. There's a little mini garden tucked in the space that I have not covered over. And a little office area. There's a terminal that I've merged into that desk. That looks pretty cool. Yeah, just a little mudroom space for you. Exit out the back.
A lot
with
of
this outer defensive
cratering.
wall. And here's the rest of it. It's pretty straightforward. Just the bare essentials of a Brahmin, chickens, a scavenging robot, and all the supplies you would need to make drugs and beverages. If you made it till now, thanks for watching the video. This was quite the challenging build, and I enjoyed building it when I wasn't being attacked by Scorch beasts. I hope you enjoyed watching it. And until next time, happy building in the wasteland. This is a legitimate build. This is a no, don't destroy it. I filed my permits.